Tim, would you hit record for me, please? Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get going here. Welcome to the City Council work session. This is Monday, July 13th, 2026, 4:30 p.m. here in the Thomas J. Smith Council Chambers, City Hall, 400 Washington Street, Burlington, Iowa. We have a couple of discussion items tonight. First up will be Mr. Tislin talking about the Dankworth Park Pool. Go ahead, Eric, please.
We have some of our park staff here as well. Just again, thanks for the proclamation last meeting for Park and Rec Month. So we have a couple discussion items here related to Park and Rec.
Real quick, would you want to introduce the park staff? You guys can stand up and so we can.
We have
Ryan?
Ryan, Brad, Cody, and Colton. Clayton.
Clayton, all right.
It's Clayton's first day.
Yeah.
Clayton's first day, so that's how we roll up here. We make sure we know who you are and you know us, okay?
And they're wrong.
Yes. All right, now, Eric, sorry to interrupt.
So we had the open house on Thursday for the pool, so just wanted to give an update to council, kind of where we're at. I know some were able to attend, but run through the concept boards and some of the feedback that we've received and how we can get more feedback and the path forward. So we had boards on concept, cost, timeline, schedule, public input we've received to date, and then referendum and tax impact. So the images there you see are the existing pool on the top, an aerial image, and then the concept image on the bottom, both looking back at the existing pool house on the top of the images. So just orientate yourself. That's kind of approximately lined up the same with the existing and then the concept. So this is some of the images for the pool. Looking at approximately similar size main pool as we have currently with the new concept, 10,100 square feet for the existing facility, 10,029 square feet for the proposed concept. The difference being there was a wading pool currently, and that isn't proposed with the new concept. It has zero entry depth from that west side. So that's functions with that shallow water area coming off the west side. Deck space, currently 20,000 square feet of concrete. Some of that right now isn't the most usable or accessible. It's kind of around the corner on the east side of the pool house where the concession is. A lot more usable space with the new design, but also adding in 6,000 square feet of grass area for additional seating, area for people to lay the blankets or towels and different things. So adding more square footage for people to actually rest and enjoy the area out there. These are some of the features and cost with the project. As you see some of the outlines here, pulling in the existing shelter on the west side into the pool. I think that was maybe shown, we'll show it later. An area where you could have birthday parties or different gatherings. Having the grass here on the north side. Adding shade throughout, that was a big request on the early surveys. And then the zero entry on the west side and kind of the lap swim on the east side with the deeper water on the north end of it. So the cost, site work, pool structure and equipment, some amenities. There are a few features here, not as many as some people would like or understand, I guess, the cost behind. Pool mechanical systems, upgrading, building renovations, creating a modern pool house with restrooms that are required by code, private changing stations, upgrading the concession area, pulling it off the mechanical room into the front of the building. There is contingency and contractor overhead and permitting, soft costs, design, construction, administration. So currently, conservative estimate, 6.7 million. Hopeful through public bidding that it would come in less than that, but that's where we're at with JEO's current design construction opinion. These are some comparable facility costs. We did hear throughout the process just I guess the disbelief of what it costs to build a pool. Pools are very expensive. Looked at other communities in Iowa and the Midwest of what it costs to build a pool based on what you want. Marengo is a very small, half the size of our proposed pool, 4.6 million. West Burlington, and these are in today's dollars, some were built previously, but in 2026 dollars. West Burlington, 7.7 million for a similar size pool, but they do have a slide and some additional, I guess, features in their pool. Platteville, 7.7 million for 13,000 square feet, and this one on the bottom, 12.5 million if we want the lazy river, the slides, the full aquatic experience, but very expensive. Some aquatic features that were contemplated early in our process, adding a splash pad would be 600,000 to 800,000 over and above where we're at now. Water slides, 450,000 to 600,000. Just a 3-meter diving board, 80 to 100,000, probably plus of that, based on pool depth and some of those things that go along with adding more volume to your pool of water being treated. Our pool was built in 1978. Had some major repairs completed in 2016, 2017, the roof, the liner, some deck work. First major liner failure was in 2020 when the pool didn't open. Based on those liner failures, additional liners and failures in 2022, in 2024. So last year the pool was closed due to unresolved liner and infrastructure problems, costs and budgeting. And we hired JEO this past fall to complete a pool feasibility study. And so that's where we're at today. The bottom there shows proposed construction schedule. This is kind of the tight time frame if everything were to be sequenced, which this project has to go to referendum, similar to the fire station. If it goes to referendum in November and passes, this is the soonest that a pool could open, would be the summer of 2028. Working through grant applications, design, public bidding, construction. So if everything, that's a question we ask, can you just open a pool next year? To get to the point where we need to be, it would be the summer of 2028. You never know with construction scheduling, even if that were to be the case, if something goes wrong or there's delays or weather, it could push it back further. But if it does, again, fit in the referendum, it has to fit within our bond schedule and process as well. So that's the optimistic. It could be moved back a year or 2 years. Some of those initial cost estimates, inflation 4.5%. It's about 300,000 to 350,000 every year beyond starting next year, an additional cost. So where we are today, some people asked, how did we come up with this design with JEO? And I guess it's all based on the initial survey that we had. We had over 1,200 responses. It was open for over 3 months, nearly 4 months. And these were some of the guiding principles behind the current concepts that we have. Got a lot of input. We're not able to fit everything into that pool design. We heard from a few people even at our open house, well, they didn't understand why what they want is not in the concept. And we asked, are you one of those, like in the middle, what swim improvements do you feel need to be made? Shade and leisure, sprays and shallow play, deep water, and we are going with kind of the input that we got. If you're one of the outliers and one of the few that want something that everyone else it's not important to, unfortunately we can't be everything to everyone, or we'll be back to a $10 million pool. So there are some sacrifices and some things that some people may not agree with, but we tried to work this design through what we heard through the community input. So these were the kind of some of the guiding principles. And some of it reflects who filled out the survey. Increased shade, lounge areas. That's probably not mostly kids filling that out. That's parents that go with their kids to the pool and are there for a few hours. They don't want to be roasting in the sun for those few hours that they're there with their kids. They want to be able to relax and enjoy their time as well. On the bottom right, build a new pool with additional amenities. As you saw within the pool concept, there are some amenities there. Those are not high-cost amenities like a water slide that's going to drive the cost up $500,000+ dollars. These are $10, $20, $40, $50,000 amenities in total that add some uniqueness to the pool, some fun that features that kids expect when they go to a modern pool, but also not some of those features that add cost, add staffing, add a lot of recurring things down the line. So we tried to take that survey response seriously in the current concept design. See an error there, but so we had the public input session here on Thursday, had about 75 attend between the afternoon and evening session, had inch of rain or so to start our afternoon or evening session, so that might have deterred some people, but some of the comments I received, and certainly have our Brad and Ryan here that were there as well, if they have anything different or to add. There was just generally a lot of excitement and support for the concept. There's people that saw it and just said, what can I do to help build that tomorrow? Shade was very popular, especially with the parents, that they were excited to be able to come with their kids and stay for a few hours. Some said, add a couple more lanes. I had one person say, can you shrink it down 2 or 3 lanes? And it's like, well, we have to try and meet the actual size that our community has. So we kind of got those differing views, but also some seeing it as meeting the needs from size, some saying maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. But just generally, they want to see a pool in our community. Those are the people that came. Some of the questions that came up, will the cost to enter increase a lot? Will more guards be needed based on the layout and amenities? Do we actually need all the amenities in the pool? And could there be a partnership with the school indoor pool? So those are some of the just general questions we received, and tried to talk through those with the individuals. We had an amenity board there that people could put 2 dots on their favorite amenities. Some wanted to put dots on all of them, but they had 2 green dots. Shade and lounging and just the general 6-lane, 25-meter pool, the just general basic pool were the 2 highest. Zero entry sprays and diving board were next, and then climbing walls, aqua zip, and play structures were last. We only had a few kids there. Would have loved to see more kids there, but I know there's a lot of activities going on as well. With that, we had a QR code at the open house, and it is on our website now as well for the concept survey. So all these boards that I've shown are on our pool study webpage on our website, and we'll be pushing that through social media. But there is a pool study webpage on the Parks Department's page. And then there's a 8-question survey just to get additional feedback on the concepts that we have. Just how well does this meet the pool facility needs in Burlington? Which features are most important? Do you believe the concept meets the size or is too large or small? Anything missing or favorite part? And then after reviewing the plan, how supportive are you of moving this project forward? And if you select neutral or oppose or strongly oppose, what is the primary concern? So just trying to gauge, I guess, where the community is at to try and move this forward through a referendum. Or if there are concerns, what are they that we could try and address those through either education or looking at are there things that could be modified through this. These are just some images. Sometimes it's easier to see just those 3D renderings of what the pool would be. Just from different angles. Again, the zero entry with a small play feature, and then the standard kind of swimming pool area. The area in between is at 3.5 to 4 foot depth, that general play area size that we've seen. Some of the small amenities, just some water sprays in the zero entry, and then a couple low cost pool features in the deeper end. There's a climbing wall here on the top right. You can climb and just fall back into the pool, and then a zip-in line. So those are significantly less costly than a slide, but add some unique feature that isn't in West Burlington or Fun City or other areas around here. So, but you can see the shade throughout the entire pool structure, pool area. Adding the concession up to the front of the pool house where that window is here on the bottom right screen, instead of having to go around the mechanical room and be kind of just for staff and patrons, often off to the side. This brings it out front. So this is the referendum and tax impact, and Chad chime in with any input on this as well, but similar to what the fire station did, just what is that, if we are to bond for the entire 6.7 million or $7 million, what is that cost impact on an individual that owns a home in Burlington at $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000? We are looking to apply for grants. We got a CAT grant for the playground project. That'd be one that we'd look for this pool project. There's no guarantee of success for grants. Did have a few people ask, how do I donate? I know some people that want to contribute at the open house. We may receive some funding that way. It could be $1,000, maybe it's $100,000, but until we get to that point, we won't know. But for every $100,000 that is contributed through a CAT grant or funding, it would lower that levy by approximately a penny. And a CAT grant, if I just mentioned this, we'd estimate around $500,000 would be what we'd go after for that grant funding. But $100,000 house, about $2.15 more a month, $25 annually in increased taxes if that entire 66 cents is needed for that. But, and then goes up based on the home value. But anything to add on that slide, Jay?
Just that is reflective of today's levy rates, valuation, current conditions. So, you know, it certainly could change if the council would proceed with a referendum this fall. You know, tax valuations will come out in December. It's a moving target until we're actually ready to issue bonds, right? So, which is why sometimes we do referendums for not to exceed amount, because there's a lot of moving parts that we don't know. But those are today's, if we were to issue the bonds today, it would be at those numbers.
Obviously, we'd all be hopeful that that could come down or lower based on some other funding or increased values, but we don't know.
And typically, that's what would happen is that, you know, over the next 2 years, our valuations will go up. Now, it's conceivable that the cost would go up too, right? So that's why it's just with a caveat.
And election where a referendum would occur would be November 3rd if council kind of moves forward with that. The pool is 50 years old. Talking with our staff, the Kawatas built the first pool. We had a federal grant to build this pool. The city hasn't built an actual pool in the last 100 years here in Burlington. It's been through other organizations or a federal government grant for our current pool. So kind of next steps here tonight, and additional if necessary council review and input. Certainly willing to bring this back or get additional input through council. We have our concept survey open, planned through the end of the month, so encourage everyone to fill that out. Go to our webpage. Do have paper copies here in Maddie's office on the first floor as well. Continue to give community updates and information. Presented to the Rotary and willing to do that with other groups as well. Mentioned that to a few different individuals in the past. Just tell them kind of where we're at, what we've heard, and what the cost is. If council does move forward, a referendum for vote would be November 3rd. And then all of it would be based on bond timing and kind of that process forward. I kind of laid out what the soonest schedule could be, but that could move back a year or 2 years, and then that just moves everything else back accordingly. So that's information on the pool. Any questions or input? Or?
One thing that I would add is that Eric and I have had conversation with other staff, with our bond counsel. They are preparing ballot language and resolutions for the council to consider on July 31st, August 3rd, council cycle, right? So, excuse me, July 31st is your work session, August 3rd is your regular meeting. You'll have documents in front of you to consider calling for an election during that cycle, during that meeting cycle, okay?
Is that enough time?
It's exactly enough time.
Eric, when I was out there, you shared with me, well, the last full year the pool opened. Do you have that, what our operation cost was after revenue?
Yeah.
Or could you get that to us?
Yeah, I can get
Because it
that
was a lot less than what I thought.
to you. Yeah, it kind of changes year over year. I pulled some numbers from our budget. 2017, I just tried to go back 10 years. Our expenses were 86,000, our revenues were 63,000. And our projection, they tried to do some projections as well, so they're very conservative on their revenues. They projected revenues being around 60,000, operational costs 145,000, so about 80,000 negative. In 2017, we're 22,000 negative. The last year we were open, which it's been very difficult since COVID because we've been open, closed, open, closed.
Yeah.
We were about 60,000 cost beyond our revenues that
Okay.
we brought in, so.
Council thoughts? Or any other questions or comments?
I want to see it move forward, very much so.
Well, this is one of those things, because of the size and scope, it needs to be determined by our citizens. And so we'll do everything we can to get enough information out there, educate, and we'll see what they say. Eric, good job on the presentation.
Is there any other questions or other staff here that we have? Well, again, I'll just show real quick while we're here. Just want,
Eric, while you're looking for that,
Yeah.
just to restate, I didn't hear you say, but you might have, the referendum is a 60%.
yeah, yep.
Yeah,
I think I
okay.
had that listed, but I didn't
Yep.
say that, yeah.
So just like the fire station, because it's a general corporate purpose, it's a 60% referendum.
So we have on our parks page this pool study link, so that has all the information, kind of just updated this, all the concepts and designs that kind of went through with council tonight, but also our pool feedback question. It's just a 8-question, pretty simple, but we encourage people to try and fill that out.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I do have a question, because, I would assume that because our pool was built in 1978, current technologies would lead to certain efficiencies. This style of pool that they've designed, because it does not have the aqua slides, it doesn't require additional lifeguards, or where are we at lifeguard-wise compared to what we have? Brad,
Ask
come on
Brad
up,
to come
please.
yeah.
Brad Selby, our recreation manager. I'm not sure what your multi-title is.
That's it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, looking at this plan, I don't see additional huge needs for additional staffing.
Okay.
The layout, if you start adding slides and those things of that nature, then you have to add staff to the top and to the bottom. But we've really been conscious of sight lines on this design and things like that to try to keep so our staffing footprint would remain minimal. So.
Okay.
Brad,
Brad?
may I ask about, when you say slides or diving boards or whatever, is it am I correct in believing that we need an extra guard for each of those amenities? Is that the way that works?
It depends on the amenity. One of the things with the water slides, or what we would think about, like in aquatic centers around here, like in West Burlington or Mediapolis, there's a person required at the top of the slide, and then there's a person required at the bottom of the slide in the water for those amenities. So there's 2 people extra right there when you have those
Okay.
amenities.
Plus the additional maintenance costs.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, guys, so we don't make him walk back up? All right. We saved that for Nick.
Yeah. I appreciate JEO and all our staff in getting us to this point, and hopefully if the community has questions, any of us are willing to go present or talk about the pool anywhere, so.
Well, I'm sure we'll have some questions as they go forward. So what do you need from us? Chad, do you have anything else to add?
I don't. Eric's done a nice job covering that, other than just some of the bonding and ballot language timeline that I just mentioned. So by July 31, you'll start to see some of that resolution and bond language come before you. So if you have questions prior to that, let me know. Certainly, as we start to receive some of those documents from bond counsel, I'll get them to you for review too.
Okay.
As I didn't show in here, but the pool house would be upgraded. I mentioned that with some of the cost to a modern pool house. So that's part of the project, as well as we have to meet current codes for restrooms and showers and all that, but also making it more efficient with the concession being inside the pool area.
The concept looks good,
Yeah, thank you.
so. Anything else? Are we ready to move on? Yes. Okay, next up is, again, Eric, good job. And good job to everybody involved. Parks, the Parks Advisory Board, everybody. Next up is Nancy Navy Park, and that's Eric Tislin again.
Yep. If Ryan has anything to add to this. We presented a couple times on this, just to get some input. So we had money last year. I think we hired Confluence to do some design for us on this, to move this project forward. We had money in the budget a couple years ago and needed some input on how to move forward with this project. It was slated a number of years ago, again, to follow Tiger with some updates and work through that process. So this is kind of a longer presentation, so some of it I'm just going to skip through. But as I mentioned, we presented this to Rotary and DPI and Design Committee as well. But just the impact that parks have, including pool, to make it quality of life, gathering spaces, civic pride, just help define the identity of a community. So Nancy Nafee is an important opportunity to create its own unique destination that reflect that in downtown. Some history, I guess, here in Park Month. Nancy Nafee was the first female mayor of Burlington, elected to council in 1989, mayor from 90 to 93 until she passed away. She was a teacher at SEC, helped start what became Downtown Partners, and was mayor when Great River Bridge and 6th Street bridges were completed. This park was created on the former Sears store site in 1996, and that image there is kind of the initial, just very basic design, kind of a pass-through from Jefferson Street to Valley Street with some seating up near Jefferson. We had some input from the Main Street, Iowa in 2018 when we first began looking at this park. So kind of follows the tune of most of our projects at the parks. They take a long time to get going and get completed, similar to the playground project. But once they are done, they do have a great impact on our community, and we're hopeful for this one as well. But these are some of those initial concept designs that we got from Main Street, Iowa, that led some of the vision for kind of what we're going to see here. And I kind of skipped through. Everyone knows it's right in the heart of downtown, just south of Snake Alley. We do have the future dog park just across the street, working on design with Public Works on that. Hopefully we can get that out to bid this fall for construction, but really tying that downtown with a lot more residents, some of those amenities in downtown as its own kind of neighborhood area. Current conditions, a lot of you have been down there. If not, I encourage you to go down and view some kind of overgrown landscape. Some trees were removed, just aging out, but there is some seating there, and then a sculpture there, not Nancy Nafee, but just a representation of her and her values down there. But really, that connection from Jefferson to Valley, down from Snake Alley with the 6th Street Bridge. So there's a lot more space as we got into it that could be usable, that we're probably making use of today. This is an overhead image with Jefferson Street on the right, Valley Street on the left, and then 6th Street on the north side of it. So we'll go through some images just to give a little more perspective to it. But entry off of Jefferson, kind of a stage area here, performance area, a little bit raised, some seating, making use of the hillside, and then bringing some park amenities downtown, kind of social gathering space as well. This is looking back at the existing building where Burlington Vintage is located now from the 6th Street Bridge. We have talked to the building owner and current tenant there as well. They're excited about the project. Kind of some of the columns that we see in a lot of our parks, Crapo and Dankwart especially, kind of setting that entrance into the park. Some string lighting, some tables, some artwork, and landscape throughout. And again, some of those concept designs behind the park layout and design. This is looking back from that stage area, so making use of the slope and terrain there, where you could have some performances, whether that be musical or speaking, poems. Someone want to make a stump speech down there or something different. Just make use of this area, having a screen on the building, that images could be projected or a movie could be shown as well. again, some of those concepts that drove some of the design. And then looking back from the parking area, shielding that a little bit more, some fencing and some landscape, creating an area where kids can come and play as well. As a parent, brought my kids downtown a number of times and waiting to go to a restaurant or something and need them to burn some steam when they're younger. This would be a great spot for that, but also with 300-plus residential units downtown, just a play area in downtown as well.
Does the blue represent like a play surface?
Yeah, it'd be a surface material with that rubber
The
or
rubberized?
synthetic or
Thank you.
something with that. Also with the Sixth Street Bridge, you have the crossing, one of the only crossings of the railroad downtown, but having that kind of dividing line between the two spaces with some stairs, which also leads to potential phasing of the project on the north side with the seating and then the south side with the kind of play social area. And that's a representation of what some play features could be with that. Drink fountain, swing benches, more tables. We do have a lot of eateries downtown that could come and bring lunch downtown into a space that's comfortable for them. Meet-up space for families. And then seeing if we can make use underneath the bridge, these concepts from Confluence offers potential food truck areas, whether that's farmers market or different events that happen downtown with hookups, kind of the permanent ping pong or beanbag toss that we have like on the riverfront right now with some seating areas and then hookups for food trucks. This is just an artist's rendering of what that looks like and could be. So with that, kind of the next steps, reviewing costs and are there some cost savings? Evaluate the phasing right now. The phasing cost for phase one, over 600,000, phase two over 500,000. Are there some options to reduce that or change that? We've presented, as I mentioned, to DPI, a lot of excitement for the project from them and the Arts Center. So working with them on pulling in, again, some grants or other foundation or dollars to make this happen. Evaluate the priority within park planning. We have a lot of projects over the next 10 years. This kind of fits into our park master plan right now. What is the priority of this within or over other projects that we have going, and how do we move the project forward? So things like this do cost a lot, but they do have a great impact, kind of as we've seen with the playground project. More than just kids playing, it's kind of a social community gathering space where has that lasting impact on our community and brings our community forward. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Any questions or comments on that?
Well, it's interesting, especially using under the overpass area is interesting because it's just, right now, all it is concrete and some grass, trash, basically. And I like some of the concept, like the lighted bench seats, so, you could have activities there with the lights overhead, even going into later in the evening, so.
It's one of the concepts, I guess just with Snake Alley on, just up the road, just kind of that brick paver walkway through it, mimicking Snake Alley, pulling in one of our most recognizable destinations further into downtown as well.
What are the orange things that are across the kids' playground?
Just kind of pods that you can leap on or
Oh, okay.
climb on. And this isn't to say this is a final design of
Sure.
what that would be, just some concepts rendered by Confluence.
Questions, thoughts, council?
I see people sliding down that hill just as a shortcut. So to have a real slide would be kind of fun. Maybe even adults would do that. I would also like to say, I think this is really important. Over the weekend, I read someone commenting that they were kind of put off by the fact that we keep bringing up COVID, and COVID was just a year, and we shouldn't keep bringing that up, but I would like to point out that for a 10-year-old child, 1 year is 1/10 of your life. And that's a long time to go without community gathering opportunities. And I would really like to see us try to make both of these parks happen, the pool and this park.
I kind of like how it kind of dovetails with the dog park too, because we definitely need an area. So this is gonna go with the parks comprehensive plan?
This is just an informational.
Just an informational?
We'll work through budgeting, park master plan, kind of process fitting within it, seeking grants and funds. We're not asking for any $1 million from council today or anything. This is kind of in our scope that we've kind of where we gotten with that design through Confluence, but we're gonna try and move it forward and see what we can do to make that happen, so. Wanted to see if there's any input or questions that we had as we kind of go through that process.
Council, you like it, hate it, what do you think?
No, I like it. I like it a lot.
I think it's absolutely wonderful, but I'm really concerned about the cost when we're not paving any streets. And when, we've put $30 million in the downtown in the last few years, and we're not doing any streets. And I think we need to find we need to find a balance here somewhere. We need to think about neighborhoods outside of the downtown. And there's a lot of people that don't live downtown compared to the number of people that live downtown. We've got to keep them in our mind as well. I'm not dissing what this is about. I love it.
Right.
I just want to make sure that we have our priorities in place and that we don't forget, as we seem to have been doing recently, on anything outside this Smith district.
I don't think we're forgetting that. I think we're encouraging people who live in other neighborhoods to come enjoy our riverfront and our downtown and our Snake Alley area, because a lot of people gave up on the downtown years ago and didn't come at all, and we had all kinds of empty buildings and no businesses. So I think we know that people like gathering places, and I think this adds to that.
Well, let's be honest, downtown, the last revision wouldn't have happened without federal grant money. That wasn't happening without the Tiger grant. So, and even Dankworth wasn't gonna happen without all the like donations and the other fundraising that your department did and others did to make that come through. So I think if you start working on it now, maybe it becomes a reality, maybe it doesn't. And you know what, you really get to the point where you weigh in on that when, okay, we've got some bucks for it, now what do we wanna do? So in the meantime, yeah, I would encourage the Parks Department to work on it, see what options are out there for either cost sharing or, grants, that type of thing, like we would encourage any other project. Tim, I agree with you on the roads. I think our long-term plan has been, if we get these last two arterials done, we should be able to go into these neighborhoods. We've heard Nick talk about it, and not just do seal coat, which we will probably get back to, but also do some concrete curb and gutter with asphalt, and that's where we can really do some good work if we're spending the same amount or close to that we've been spending on our roads. And I would say we have invested a lot in our streets. We've done Harrison, we're doing Summer, Division's had some work done, we're doing Washington now. It's not just about downtown, for sure, but downtown is our growing area where population is actually increasing. That's why there's a focus there. So there is a balance that's required, but I think staff is looking at that balance. And you see the private development has a balance of that too. You look at the old Fairway Center for you old timers like me, and now it's City Center, and how much better improved that is. And then even the the old manor area, which I didn't like the way that came about, but in the long haul, that entire area is better than what it once was, but it was because we started talking. And I think this, where you have a plan that you can at least refer back to, that's why we're doing the parks comprehensive plan and the parks plan. If you have a plan that you can refer to and say, what are we working on next? That's where excitement builds in a community, and we need that in order to, keep our young people here, two, keep our old people from going to warmer climes, and hopefully attract some jobs. So I'm fine with you working on it, Eric, and then we'll, and we as council will have to decide if we want to put the brakes on if it becomes too much of a reality at too high a price point. If that's fair, but I think that's how these things get done. And then there's a pecking order. Okay, we want this, we want that. How do we decide what's first? But it's demonstrated, like you look at Dankwart, you wanna attract people or have them appreciate living in Burlington? Go out there and you can see it every day. And not only our residents, and even though maybe Lee County's not paying taxes here, if they're here using our facilities, they're gonna pop in a convenience store or a restaurant or buy some gas or maybe pick up groceries on the way home. So I'm fine with working on it and seeing what we can do. But definitely with an eye toward, okay, let's look for some grants first, which will help pave the way. Any other thoughts or concerns?
Yeah, just so I can be clear, I don't disagree with anything you just said.
I got that. I'm not disagreeing with you either. I'm just saying I recognize what you're saying. So, if there's no other thoughts or comments, let's move on to board and commission reports. Tim, we'll start with you on the left. Got anything tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight tomorrow's agenda actually for the Burlington Water Works.
Thank you, guys.
Rathbun Water purchased 21 million gallons of water to distribute through the county. I can't get over those numbers. City of West Burlington is over 12 million. American Ordinance is over 7, and Silgan is over 5.5 million gallons of water that they purchased and it helps us.
In the month?
It helps us keep going,
Is
the
that a
water
month?
going in the rest of the community.
Tim, she was wondering, is that in the month or annually?
That's 1 month, that's the month of May, 1 month. We had a senior center board meeting today. The best news is they received a very generous donation from a private citizen here in Burlington.
Good.
And it increased their bank account considerably. And then I helped out too. They filled my van full of pop cans again. So we had to run those down. And they're making some changes down there. They're getting rid of some equipment that they haven't used or that is in bad shape. They got a pool table down there that can't be repaired. The person that come and looked at it said if they were to take it apart to repair it, it would fall apart because it's an old pressed wood type. It doesn't even have a slate top. It's got a wood top, so they're going to get rid of that. They have some damaged chairs that can't be repaired, so I got a hold of a recycler that's got to come and pick that stuff up. So, it was a pretty good meeting today. And they had, without that, speaking of that donation, without putting it into the figures for last month, they actually come out $360 ahead of, which doesn't happen every month. And the other thing, last week we had our plan meeting with the fire department. And John, you were there for most of it. You missed out on a tremendous discussion that they had before it ended. You could really get pumped up when you get an organization discussing like they did, and there were there were virtually two different ends of a spectrum, and they seemed to come together for the most part. And these are firefighters and administrators that are sitting down and negotiating and talking about what their plans are going to be for the next 5 years. And it was, I've just been, I've said it several times, I've been so impressed with this process, and I think it's going to come together real well. So, and a lot of other good things going on down there. So
Good stuff.
that's all I got for now.
Annie?
Nope, I have a meeting tomorrow. That's it.
Okay. I would echo Tim's sentiments on the 5-year strategic meeting for the fire department. There's definitely a synergy being built between quote-unquote management, administration, and the firefighters, because everybody's opinion has mattered and it's weighed and measured, and then they decide what's going to go in the 5-year roadmap. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about comprehensive plan or parks plan. These roadmaps is how we achieve success. Those things don't happen without proper planning. And so there's a lot of things they're working on and agreeing to. I had a COBCO meeting. It's much the same. Representatives from different groups, working with our insurance provider, working with the administration of the city and the county, and working toward a better situation, a better, more responsive situation for our employee group. There's nuts and bolts there that I won't go into, but it's worth the effort that folks are putting forth. So that is definitely appreciated. I missed a B's meeting. I didn't miss it. I was on a Zoom meeting, but they couldn't figure out how to unmute me, and I had a lot to say. But they have a follow-up a meeting in regard to that. There was a lot of discussion about how do they extend. They've heard our message, the one I've carried to them anyway, about extending the season and the usage at Community Field, especially the outdoor season. They've heard that message. They're working on it. Some of it's going to be too late for this season, but I think we could really look forward to seeing some bigger plans for next season. Also, they are doing their capital campaign fundraising for the turf, and they feel really, really good that they have potentially half of it committed. So they will announce that once that's kind of wrapped up, because that's a long way to that facility being more used regularly. Right now, they would have a lot of these events that would be out in the parking lot, because you can't tear up the turf before a game. But if that artificial turf was in there, they could anticipate having a game that day and an activity that night. So there's some things they're working to improve. That's my boards and commissions. Kay, do you have anything?
I would just like to report that Downtown Partners' big event, the Very Vintage Market, is this Saturday, and there will be volunteers working Friday to mark booth spaces, and volunteers starting Saturday at 5:30 in the morning, setting up barricades.
I'll be there. I can see the look.
So it's one of their major fundraisers for supporting Downtown Partners, because the Smith District taxes have been compromised, shall I say? Mutilated by the state legislatures.
Another voluntary voted on. Well, it wasn't voted on, actually. The building owners agreed to it, and that they still screwed it up, so.
Yep.
But that's a story for another day. So, when super volunteer Kay looks at you about something that's really hard to deny, so if she puts the gaze on you about showing up for that day, you better plan on it.
I'll be there Friday, but not
See?
Saturday, because
I can be
going
guilt-free and still do my
Yeah.
job? Okay, good.
I'm going to a 60th wedding anniversary party.
All right.
so-
We'll move on to appointments. So we have one appointment. This is for the Airport Authority Board. Jay Lockenberg's term will expire 8/15/2026. He's expressed interest in serving another term. His request that the council consider reappointing Jay to a new four-year term, which will expire in August 15th, 2030. I've dealt with Jay a few times. I can tell you he's, I feel an outstanding board member, so. And we'll vote on that. And moving on to the proposed regular agenda for July 20th, 2026. First would be a resolution providing for the sale of bonds, setting parameters for the sale of bonds, and approving bond purchase agreement, and an official statement thereof.
So I have this one, Your Honor, and as usual, there's a lot of legalese here, but generally, we are looking at issuing bonds for several projects as contemplated in either the budget or the capital improvement plan for fiscal '27. Pursuant to the resolution, this provides for the sale of bonds, setting parameters of the sale of bonds. I'll get into that in the last paragraph. Approving bond purchase agreement and the official statement. So there are two elements to our bond issuance this year, as is usually the case. We have essential purpose bonds, which are your public works type items. We have general obligation corporate purpose bonds, which in this case would be things like the Recplex field lighting project. So just kind of working through those. They're not to exceed $16,750,000 for essential corporate purpose and $400,000 for corporate purpose, again, which would be the Recplex. Under the essential corporate purpose, we would see things like, and this will be some legalese language or all-inclusive language, and I'll cover more specifically what they are, but constructing street, sidewalk, storm water drainage, bridge, and other related public infrastructure. So generally, that's going to look like our bonds for the Summer Street project. There's just over $5 million in bonds for the Summer Street project. The $400,000 for the Recplex. And then we also have in here $5 million for the fire station, for the third fire station project. That's not the full amount. I've asked our financial advisor to go with $5 million for this year, and then we would issue any remaining bonds next year based on actual needs. Just to kind of clean up the project since it'll span 2 fiscal years anyway. The preliminary official statement just kind of describes what the bonds are, the economic conditions of the city and the parameters around the bonds. And then the parameters of the bond sale basically would say that they are in the par amount or the issuance amount of $17,525,000, all inclusive of maturity dates, underwriters discounts, coupon rates, and others, and could be considered for sale under provisions deemed appropriate by the city manager at a not to exceed 5%. And so what that means is when our financial advisor goes to market, if he can strike his best deal and it's less than 5%, you would vest the authority in the city manager to go ahead and sell those bonds. If they're going to be higher than 5%, then we need to come back and have a conversation about options and what we would want to do. So anything less than 5%, this resolution would state that the city manager, working with our financial team, could go ahead and issue those bonds. Okay. I think that kind of covers all of the details. A couple of other things in the bonds, I guess, that I would mention. We have the Parks Department bucket truck, and we have the station alerting system for all the stations. That's the Phoenix system that gets into specific alerting for those at individual stations. That's in there as well. Any questions about any of that information?
I don't think so.
Okay? That'll just be a simple resolution. That's all that'll be to move those items forward.
Okay. Moving on to number 2, a resolution approving public improvement project and the permanent easement to construct and maintain Jefferson Street Railroad Crossing and acquisition of property interest by the use of eminent domain. Nick?
Good evening. So I want to explain a little bit of the title of the resolution, as there's some language in there that may seem a little bit concerning, especially with the title of eminent domain. So I will start back at the beginning of what this project entails. So with the Tiger Grant project, BNSF and the city of Burlington and the state of Iowa got fairly heavily involved with the intersection that you can see on the screen. BNSF and the city co-signed on a grant application for Section 130 grant dollars. That dollars, in short, helps railroad improvement to improve ADA access along with quiet zone area and the such with railroad crossings. So back in 2024, as I kind of highlighted in my memo, kind of a timetable of the interactions, BNSF, as they were the recipient directly from the DOT for a lot of the work they're doing on this section of the work, pursued a permanent easement from the owners of the bakery that you see there. They pursued a purchase agreement for the easement. They got down the pathway of getting that done. Conversation stalled. They restarted the conversation. They got to a certain point and then nothing. So that was in 2024. I think some of the documents made the packet that had some of those easement language in there, but that started in 2024. Because of the timetable of the Section 130 money, the Iowa DOT Rail Office got a hold of us, said these things need to move because the dollars need to be spent in a timetable. So evidently, we as the city of Burlington are the only ones that have eminent domain authority, which means the public taking of property for public purpose, which in this case, most of the public purpose lies around the railroad interaction with our roadways. So the parcel that is to be taken through this process is approximately 173 square foot on the corner. So GIS isn't 100% accurate, so I tried to remock the easement plat, which should be more accurate than what GIS is. So you see the little blue trapezoidal figure that I've drawn there. It is about 16 foot long. And Eric, if you would, could you show Google Street View just so you can understand what this parcel actually is? There's really no use other than the current rail infrastructure that's there along with a pole. The city actually has a storm sewer structure. So essentially it's just a little bit north of the pole that this proceedings would actually take through eminent domain. And so the reason why we use the word eminent domain is it's the legal doctrine that gives us the authority to take these pieces of ground. The owners will be compensated. We have an appraisal process going on right now that will go through legal looking from our city attorney and others, and then they'll be compensated for the land, and then we will turn around and give a permanent easement to BNSF so they can, one, house their current infrastructure on land legally, but there's actually improvements to the crossings that they're having to make. So the other piece of the Section 130 money will go into a curb line replacement to try and keep vehicles far enough away from simply jumping that kind of road down curb and entering the quiet zone area. So I bring up the quiet zone because it's pretty impactful for our downtown. Essentially, that's the real threat at play in my eyes, is that if these things don't go forward, there is the possibility that BNSF will go to Federal Rail and say, because your conditions are not up to code, the quiet zone is not in effect. So it would only be at this crossing in theory, but I think that's still enough impact. So I hope I've explained that. I know that the title of the resolution can seem a little bit concerning, and no one wants to hear those type of words. So I can answer any questions.
So the current signals are housed on that property.
Yeah, see, I always assumed that they would have an easement by rights of the materials
Yeah.
being in place for, 20 years. Evidently, that's not the case,
And
so.
how the bakery ended up with that little piece anyway. They're not using it for anything, but.
No. Chad, anything? Any comment?
No, good job.
So it's the weeds and the pole and the crossing
Yeah, right.
support.
It's a ditch.
That's, yeah.
And they're still gonna be compensated for it, correct?
They will be
That's what you said.
compensated for it.
Okay.
I know at one time, the compensation amount that I heard that they offered for this piece of land was kind of absurd, but they wanted to get the thing done and get it moving, so, but the owner is out of, I think, Massachusetts or Connecticut.
Massachusetts.
And they've been awfully hard to get a hold of, and so this essentially just gets that process done.
Yeah, I will say this, council, I was at the center of this big debate between BNSF, Federal Rail, with all the different senators and everything, when this crossing was closed and we were in the throes of Tiger Grant. And then it's a constant concern, it's not a threat, it's a concern by BNSF. They would like this intersection to be safer. And one of the concerns was, if you're not compliant, then we're gonna have to close it, period. Not just the quiet zone, but close it, period, as a through roadway. And then also lost to your quiet zone. So, in this case, I guess, Nick, the way I personally feel, and the rest of the council can weigh in, I don't feel we have any choice. So even though I don't like that phrase, Mr. Byrd knows I called him this morning because I reviewed the packet this morning when I got back to town, and that's the first thing I called him about, because I don't like that phrase. But I understand why, because you've been trying so long to get a hold of him. So,
The other item of note that I did not mention that was in the memo is that there's no dollars coming out of the city coffers for the purchase of the
Right.
process or any of the process. The state's dollars with the Section 130 money will pay entirely for it. We, as the city, are essentially just the mechanism in which to acquire the property.
Nick, so I did have just a point of clarification. Is it an actual parcel acquisition or a permanent easement for the railroad?
I believe because of the method in which you're using it, it'll be a parcel acquisition
Acquisition,
and not just a permanent easement.
okay.
Oh, okay.
It started that way, but because of these types of proceedings, we're moving more towards a parcel acquisition.
Anything else, council?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Good job. Proposed consent agenda for July 20th, 2026 will be first up, a resolution approving a training agreement. Mr. Byrd, you doing that one?
I can cover that. It's just a training agreement for a firefighter. It's the standard 5-year agreement for training.
Okay. Any questions, council?
Nope.
All right. Number 2, resolution approving nuisance abatements for various properties. Council see anything that was on there concerning? Definitely, I had one, and I reached out to Chad, and he was gonna talk to Eric about it. It looks like it was an easy resolution to address my concerns. So anything like that, you can always bring them up here, but I would always encourage you to reach out to them and go from there. Number 3, resolution designating the east doors of City Hall as the official location for posting public meeting notices.
Mayor and council, this is required action by Iowa House File 2490, which took effect July 1, requires governmental bodies to annually, so we're going to do this every year, designate an official, prominent, and conspicuous location where notices of public meetings will be posted and visible to residents. So past practice has indicated that we've put a clipboard at the clerk's office of all the meeting notices for council, boards and commissions, et cetera, but that's not necessarily visible to residents, especially after hours. So we need to comply with that. So staff recommend that we post a bulletin board inside the glass doors on the partition wall at the east doors, because that's visible from the outside during closed hours. It's also ADA accessible, right? So there's full access all the time by anybody. That would be our recommendation, and again, it's a requirement of House File 2490.
And that would,
And we'll have to redesignate every year.
okay.
And we'll post everything there.
And that will take care of all that need.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's other provisions in 2490 that require online posting and notifications, but that'll be the physical compliance. I would add that.
Do they specify a type size so that it can be?
Not that I'm
read
aware
for-
of, no. The Library Board of Trustees, because they are their own public entity, and the Waterworks Board of Trustees, because they are their own public entity, will also have to designate a certain spot for them. They will do so. I've worked with both of those executive directors, and they will ask their bodies to present or approve a similar recommendation for their buildings. We may still post Library Board of Trustees or Waterworks Board of Trustees meeting notices here, but legally, they'll be posted on their buildings,
Okay.
right?
Any concerns, council?
No.
Thoughts? Okay, and then number 4, we're going to set a date for public hearing, August 3rd, 2026. And that will be a consideration of an agreement with the Burlington Bees Association for the use of community field for all baseball and community activities. So we'll be discussing that in the future. With that, that's our work session agenda. We'll go around and get last thoughts from our department heads, and then council can weigh in if they have anything. Eric, you're first up with development and parks.
Yes, thank
and
you.
Recreation.
Just first up with Parks, the Friends of Burlington Parks, they're a 501c3. They raise funds for our park endowment. They're doing a weekly scavenger hunt on their Facebook page, so encourage families, individuals to check that out. Get out to the various parks we have in our community, but go to Friends of Burlington Parks Facebook page for that. And just a reminder to go to our pool page, pool study page on our website to check out the concepts and give us your feedback on that questionnaire.
Sounds good?
Thank you.
Okay. Are you with wastewater tonight? Yeah, what is your name, sir? Justin. Justin, I'm sorry, I'll remember it next time, Justin. Do you have anything from, Tim didn't send you with any deadly messages or anything? All right. Ken, anything from Waterworks? Nothing tonight. All right. Brittany from the library.
The Board of Trustees will have their meeting this week on Wednesday at 4:30 in the Storytime Room at the library. And pursuant of House File 2490, they will designate the south, which are the main entry doors, as our official posting location. It's a south wall of windows, so it'll be accessible 24/7. And you'll also start to see some of our agenda and meeting information shared on social media, which we have not done in the past. We sent out a press release today announcing our newest library resource available to all card holders. We now have Mango Languages, which is a language learning platform similar to Duolingo. You don't get a little owl that you get to score points and buy outfits for, but it's a great library service. We've had a lot of requests from families here in town to have some kind of learning language. We had a lot of requests from people who are hosting Ukrainians in town to have some kind of language learning platform. So thanks very much to foundation funding, we've been able to make a few pivots and get this on our docket for fiscal '27. The Friends of the Library will host a vintage book sale
Brittany.
starting today.
The Mango, does it cost anything for residents to use?
Nothing, it's free to library card holders.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep, foundation paid so that we all can enjoy this service
You
for
might have
free.
said that, but I just wanted you to say it again.
Yep. You do need a library card though, so
Yeah.
come on down.
Okay.
The Friends are going to host their own vintage book sale. They have years past joined the very vintage market, but the last 2 years they've been stormed on horribly, and so they decided to host their own inside the library building. They're stretching it out. It'll run from July 13th to July 25th, and word has that they have a first edition advanced reader copy of 1984 that's going to the tune of $800. So if you're real into banned books, this is a first edition ARC that they got their hands on. So some very cool things in this vintage sale. And I will encourage you, if you haven't yet, take a minute to read through our library services report. These are really great snapshots of what happens on a monthly basis at the library. We publish them on our website, and we spend time talking about them at the library board meeting. So this Wednesday, 4:30 Storytime Room, if you want to join us, Library Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Stephanie, anything from finance? No? Chief Thompson?
So good evening. Just real quickly, last week you had talked about the 4th of July weekend and how everything had went. I just wanted to let you know that what you were saying was supported by the data. For the second consecutive year, our calls for service for fireworks were down. I spoke with the on-duty shift supervisors. They indicated they had worked many of the last 4th of July weekends, and that was real nice. So we're going to continue our efforts with educating people on what they can and can't do, and hopefully continue to keep that trending downward on our calls for service for that. Okay.
That is music to our ears. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Toops?
Yeah, I'll just come down and speak kind of podium. Really, from fire, would echo the same thing that Chief Thompson had to say, speaking with our shifts and having the chance now to review our data. I know we're 9 days out, but no significant injuries attributed from fireworks in our area, at least that we responded to. Can't speak for what the hospital received or maybe urgent care or critical care, but on our end of things, it was relatively successful, quiet, or safe, all things considered. In terms of fire calls, which is not uncommon, we go to a lot of smoke in the areas, and that's throughout the year. So pretty common for that, but all of those came to the conclusion of no incident found on arrival. And then one discarded fireworks in the bed of a fire truck, which caught the truck on fire. So discarded fireworks is usually one of those heavy hitters where it causes a fire on 4th of July weekend. But again, echoing the same thing Chief Thompson said, I don't know what metric or ordinance or rule that we're following, but this year was an oddly quiet year, which is good. It's good for our community. We'll continue to collaborate with our law enforcement partners and website partners and continue to educate and collaborate and those types of holiday weekends. So.
Thanks for moving those rules up toward the top, because I think that made it easier for folks.
Well, thanks. we're continuing to work on that website, but that's all I got. So,
All right.
thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. McGregor, what's the good word today? Which is to say, I don't want any bad stuff, Nick.
No bad stuff.
Maybe I should turn around. No, I'm kidding. So we have I reminded last week, but we have Cascade Bridge public meeting on Wednesday at 5:30 at the library at the meeting room. We will review kind of what the last meeting kind of entailed, where we're at to date, and then they'll kind of add some more questions and feedback on some answers. So that's happening Wednesday at 5:30 at the library. You can tell by the construction outside, it's still a ways away from that section being opened. I might have misled you last week and told you asphalt was going to be this week, and it's not. Contractors are pretty wily sometimes when it comes to giving you actual timelines on installing things. So it looks like we're closer to next week for asphalt. So Summer Street is pretty close to putting some concrete on the ground on the paving that's further on the south side of town. Mason Road's trail section looks like it's about wrapping up and should be moving sides on Haskell there. And then we'll do the main line kind of moving eastwardly. So that's all I have. No bad news.
Thanks, Nick. Mr. Byrd?
Not really any news. We have a bond rating call tomorrow morning with our rating agency on these bonds that we're looking at issuing. We had a pre-rating call today and just kind of walked through things with our financial advisor, Travis. It's interesting to note that the rating agencies are starting to notice some of the legislative actions in Iowa and how they may adversely impact ratings. So that'll be interesting to kind of hear some of that tomorrow through the ratings call. But otherwise, that's all I have. So thanks so much.
All right, Mr. Byrd, thanks. Mr. Scott, anything to wrap up tonight?
Yeah, just a couple real quick things. There's a REAP assembly meeting on July 22nd. Chad, you're on the list. Do you think you'll be going?
Yeah, Eric is too, and I know usually Eric will send a park staff for that. And so I'll visit with Eric as to who staff representation will go.
Okay, I've got another appointment, so I'm not
Okay.
going to worry about it.
Burlington will be represented one way or the other, yep.
Okay, and then on the 24th, we have a meeting approving, or whatever it is you want to call it, for the local projects that have applied for that. We've got one in there. So
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be
anything?
there for that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All good, Tim?
Yep.
Okay, okay? No? Annie?
Got nothing?
I don't have, what, go ahead.
I was going to say, the village market.
You said you had nothing.
I know.
Vintage Market, everybody wants to make sure that they know this weekend. Also, if you've got time, Abate 18, which is a motorcycle club here in town, has their daily their annual hospice ride, where they raise funds for Des Moines County and Burlington, West Burlington hospice houses. Plus, they'll have a silent auction. So if you want to come out and support that, they're supposed to get to the Moose about 5 o'clock. That's a great function. Those people do a lot of good work for us. Just a real quick aside, I was in Gretna, Nebraska this weekend, where it is growing by leaps and bounds, and that is an example of uncontrolled growth. I mean, it's growing so crazy. I was very envious. My kids live there, and I did tour their brand-new water park. I can't believe they built it for $12 million. This thing is massive. And there was a wait line, started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and that line was still there at 1 o'clock as people cycled through. And they had a limit, so you had to stay outside until somebody leave, so you could get in, which was, I'm sure it brings its own problems, but as a councilman in a small town contemplating building a small pool, I was sure envious, and also envious of, they don't have to worry about any of the things we're looking at because they're growing so fast that it really doesn't matter. So, just observation. With that, we're done. I appreciate